thank you for coming back for our Avengers episode. We're gonna not dilly-dally around a bunch and talk about other tangential things.
We've already done that
because
we already recorded Thor 2, which hasn't come out yet.
Jeff, you're spoiling the illusion that I'm trying to cultivate of me actually like having this all together and doing a good job at organizing things. So shush.
Okay, sorry.
As you can tell, with me today is my good friend Jeff Mitchell.
Hi.
And this is amazing. So great today. And as I mentioned, we're going to talk about the Avengers. So this is going to wrap up phase 1 of the MCU. Man, I was so excited to go and see this movie. I clearly and distinctly remember the first time I saw the trailer for this movie. And I was so jazzed about this. Do you remember the trailer and any of that? Like your anticipation going into the movie?
I don't specifically remember the trailer. I remember seeing it. So I have a kind of a different. So I hadn't really seen any of the other MCU when the Avengers was coming out. I don't know if you remember this, but we were talking about it, and somehow either you told me or somehow I knew that Joss Whedon was doing it. And that's actually what made me interested, because I had just recently been watching his original, like his early stuff, like Buffy and Angel, and I just really liked, and I, of course, knew about Dr. Horrible and that type of thing.
Oh, right. I remember you told me about Dr. Horrible.
So I was a Joss Whedon fan, and I was like, and I think I did see the trailer and it looked good, and you were like, okay, before you see this, you need to go watch the other Marvel movies. And that was when I sort of learned about the MCU, because I didn't, you made sure that I didn't watch any sort of non-MCU Marvel movies. You know, you were like, yeah, you only need to watch,
oh, right, because there was other stuff out there. There was Ghost Rider.
Well, there was
and
the Amazing Spider-Man
movie and the old, well, not the Amazing Spider-Man yet, but the Tobey Maguire
Spider-Man. The Amazing Spider-Man had already started coming out. Maybe I'm wrong.
No.
There was some stuff somewhere that that was not part of the MCU. So yeah, you're like, watch Captain America, watch Thor, and I'd seen Iron Man, but I hadn't seen like the other ones. And to be honest, I didn't want to see Captain America because I was very much sick of the whole, like, we don't really need to get into politics, but I was in a place where I was sort of disgusted with our military policy and the patriotism that goes along with that. And I was...
Well, and that is the really cool thing about the Captain America movies, though, right? Is that he really does just kind of embody the best of what America should be without really getting into the politics.
I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't like a rah go Team America thing. It was actually go freedom and individualism, which are things I can really get behind.
Right.
So, but that aside, I wish I could talk about Captain America, but we're talking about the Avengers now. So yeah, I was excited for the movie too. It was the first one that I saw in the theaters.
Okay.
And in watching it a second time, I know this is going to sound weird because it seems weird to me. I was surprised at how good it was still, I guess. Like,
if anybody wants just a confirmation of how good the Avengers movie is, there's actually like an entire... have you ever heard of the film critic on the internet who calls himself Movie Bob?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
So he has a whole series about sort of in-depth analyses of like classic, sort of modern classics in terms of the movies, and he did one on the Avengers, and it's a lot of fun. He's very entertaining to watch and listen to. And essentially his analysis of the Avengers movie is that basically this movie is a party celebrating its own existence.
Yeah, and it's fun. It makes you feel like you're part of the party.
Yeah.
And you're having fun. Yeah, like so going into watching it again, I was like, I wanted to watch it again, but I've gotten to the age, like when I was a kid, you could watch the same thing over and over again and be happy, right? Like, there were certain videos we had, movies we had on video that I would just watch.
I watched Disney's Robin Hood over and over, like multiple times.
I watched Beauty and the Beast. I watched Star Wars and Indiana Jones over and over again. But now that I've gotten older, it's just not as enjoyable to see something a lot of times a second time. And looking at the Avengers, I'm like, oh, it's 2.5 hours. I hope it's as good, the second time. And it was like, I didn't even notice the 2.5 hours. I was like, this is really good. Part of it is because going back and watching it after seeing the MCU expand so much farther in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the other movies, I was sort of like fangirling over the stuff that's in it, like the little details that point to either coming up or in previous movies that I didn't notice because I wasn't paying as much attention, So, like, for example, little things like they were already starting to establish Natasha Romanoff's friendship with Bruce Banner in this movie.
Yeah, I definitely caught that when I was watching it too. There's definitely a little bit of chemistry there.
Which is something I didn't cool. You don't realize at first because you don't realize how critical it becomes in later movies. That she's the person that can sort of calm him down because of this friendship that they have. Also, in my notes, I literally have written, "Holy crap, Hydra guy from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D."
Yes, absolutely. I wrote that down too.
And I had no idea. You watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and spoilers, if anybody hasn't watched it, stop listening for about 30 seconds or whatever, or just go watch it and then come back.
That's right. Through the magic of the internet, we will still be here when you come back.
Hydra had fully infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. It's revealed, at the end of season 1 / beginning of season 2. But I didn't realize how far back they had started hinting at this or planning this. That one of the guys sitting on sort of the S.H.I.E.L.D. Central Command Council,
the Global Security Council.
Global Security Council that Nick Fury was answering to is literally the guy running Hydra. Or one of the guys running Hydra, one of the heads of Hydra, essentially.
He pretty much was the guy. Yeah, he was really the main guy. Yeah.
He was definitely the main guy whose goal was to bring Hive back. Which, when we talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that was a huge, cool thing to me. How the whole symbol of Hydra came from actually this being from another planet that they sort of shipped.
Yep.
Which I think you've told me is not comic canon, but I think it's really cool.
It may have been. It may have gotten. I think it's not an alien thing in the comics, although I am aware that there is a series upcoming very shortly that's gonna be about prehistoric kind of encounters between superhuman defenders of the earth and other stuff. If it's supposed to be prefigure the Avengers or prefigure S.H.I.E.L.D. But Agamotto as in the Eye of Agamotto, the guy himself is supposed to be there, and I forget what other sort of early prehistoric incarnations of characters we're going to see.
Might be there again.
Which one?
Are you thinking Hive part of it?
Well, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what else is. Oh, a Ghost Rider. We're going to have a prehistoric Ghost Rider in that
Ghost Rider
series.
4 is
And I forget what it's called, but I'll drop a link to it in the show notes later when I'm able to look that up.
Yeah, so another, if I can keep going with my list of fangirling over the connections, was that Pepper mentions the cellist to Coulson.
Yes. Yep,
And
I caught that too. That was fun.
And you wouldn't know anything about the significance of that if you're watching this, in order. If you haven't seen, because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. hadn't even come out yet. But
Exactly.
I love it when they're setting things up. Like there's this huge overarching plan. And you can sort of go back and see how like all this stuff kind of fits together. So there was a lot of that stuff. I had forgotten.
One of the cool connective tissue things that I caught onto, and I don't know if you noticed this, but I had just watched Thor pretty shortly before I rewatched Avengers, and the device that Selvig builds on the top of Stark Tower looks a lot like the Bifrost.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
It operates in the same way and has the same kind of little spiky protrusions on the top of it and like spins around and generates the portal.
Yeah.
So I thought that was super cool and just a really neat visual callback to the design that's already been established from Thor.
Yeah. Another connection to Thor, obviously Loki shows up, but the interesting
sorry, go ahead.
At the end of Thor, Loki just sort of falls off into space, right?
Right.
And apparently he ends up at wherever Thanos is afterward.
Right. I think it's meant to be implied that Thanos kind of like saved him from drifting in space.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. See, knowing Loki, it almost seemed like he did intentionally drop off into space.
Yes, he did intentionally
drop off into space.
But I don't think that he had.
Especially.
See, I don't think he had a master plan at that point. I think he was totally undone at the end of
I don't know. He has all these. He knows all these secret ways of travel. See, I thought I made a connection between that and the Dark World, where it's like, even though it was a different way.
Yeah, there's that, but this kind of gets at something that I wanted to circle back to from Thor, because I think I had watched it before we talked, but then I watched it again. With my son after we recorded our episode about Thor, and he had all of these questions about like right at the end. He's like, why is Loki doing this? Like, why is Odin angry at him? Or why doesn't basically why is Loki doing this? Not why
all of those things are explained in the Avengers. That's what's cool too.
Yeah, but Loki is so tragic,
yeah.
and like we're just going to continue to gush about our love for Loki on this show and how he's one of the greatest pieces of the MCU in general.
Great. Sure.
But Loki is so tragic, and this gets at like a really like profound like thematic issue, I think, for us, especially as Christians. His arc is so tragic because in Thor, like, the whole reason why this path of destruction is being trod is because Loki is not able to accept the unconditional love that his father has.
That's a good point. he hasn't.
Like,
yeah, that's
so,
exactly what it is.
So, and like right at the end, and this is why I'm saying this is my basis for the position that I think he's totally undone and is just like willing to let go of it all and just, float in space forever at the end, is because, he's hanging there and he says to Odin, I did it all for you.
Yeah.
And Odin just in sorrow just says, Loki, no. Like, this is not what I ever wanted from you. And this is not what I ever wanted for
He's
you.
actually a good symbol of legalism, too. Where
absolutely,
he's trying to work his way into Odin's favor.